do you believe that you really have to avoid mold the rest of your life once you've unlocked CIRS? So here's the thing, and this is the model that's sort of, I think, the most contemporary out of all this. Think of it as sort of a numerator and a denominator. In the numerator, it's total load. And that is to say, all the things that you sort of accumulated over your life that's loading your system. Now imagine in the denominator, it's your reserve, it's your resiliency, it's your robustness, it's your deep capacity to absorb those insults and stressors and exposures and come back to normal. Some people have a deep well and a lot of resiliency and reserve, and others, they have a very tiny reserve and they get overwhelmed by small loads. So here's one of the things that also happens in reverse when we sort of take people through the treatment process. It's not just about removing the total load. Number one, that alone won't get people better. It's not even about just sending the safety signal. We also then need to ask questions about how do we fortify a patient? How do we rebuild their reserves? And I think that's where some of the longevity practices start to shine a little bit more. Cold therapy, hot therapy, intermittent fasting, caloric restriction, graded exercise. These are the sorts of things that start to unlock the cell's potential to build longevity. Once we get to that point where we're sending the all clear signals, that's when I start thinking about how do I build the person back up? The model you should have in your head is as an athlete. Imagine we started with someone who's very deconditioned and sickly and in bed. Now we finally have the person out of bed and moving around and feeling pretty good. But then how do we transition them to become a competitive athlete? We need to build their system. We build their system through very specific interventions. And that's where I think these longevity practices start to shine. I don't think caloric restriction and graded exercise and all that sort of stuff makes a bit of difference if you're in CDR1 or even CDR2. But once you're in CDR3 and beyond and you're sort of back to normal, that's when I would say start building your tank, start building your reserves. I put people in walking programs. I want them to be with a active heartbeat of 120 to 130 beats per minute. I want them to do that for 30 to 45 minutes, at least several days a week. Why? Because all the literature says that when you're in that stage 2 of activity, where you're working, but you're not working too hard, something magical happens with your immune system. It starts to reset. You get autophagy. You start to burn fat. Energy levels go up. You're not spilling over into cardiovascular exertion. There's a sweet spot for people. On top of doing heart rate variability training, autonomic nerve stimulation, insight therapy, cold and hot sorts of exposures. These are the things that start to rebuild people back up. And so I don't think this is just, oh gosh, I can get you out of mold and feeling a little bit better, but you still got to live in a bubble for the rest of your life. We are not designed to be that way. Our bodies and our lives were meant to be robust, resilient, that we can take exposures and not just fall apart. And that's the emerging model, that we can start filling the tank again. We have to sort of take all these pieces that we're learning from different parts of medicine and put together a better model. But it also matters in terms of when you do these interventions.